Hey everybody, welcome to Beginner Tips 2. We did Beginner Tips 1 and I'll link that about right here. We did that about a year ago and Steve and I did. It was one of our first videos we ever did and we had a really good response to it. So we wanted to expand on it a little bit further. So Steve, how do you go about developing a strategy for a beginning musky angler as far as picking a lake?
Well, that's a really good question, Jeff, and honestly it's probably the biggest choice that you need to make as an angler is, well, where am I going to go fishing today? Being a beginning musky angler, you should be looking for different things than, say, an experienced or trophy musky hunter is looking for. And typically what I'll tell them, my first time anglers or beginning anglers, is choose lakes that have a high population. We call them action lakes. Up here in the Hayward area, I have a lot of different lakes that have a lot higher population of muskies. We're typically not going to run into a 50-inch fish on those lakes, Jeff, although we may and have. But the reality is the population is much higher. When you're on a lake that has a higher density of fish, you're going to run into more fish. You're going to have more opportunities of bites. You're going to have more follows. You're going to have more interaction with the fish. And really learning about musky fishing is about interacting with the fish, learning the little moves that trigger the fish, learning the little details about where they live, and then finally executing and putting some of those fish in the net.
Well, because as you know, that can be one of the more difficult things as a beginning musky angler is you don't know how to react in certain situations because you're not put in those situations that often. It's not like walleyes or bass where you get lots of shots at them per day.
Right, and exactly. So if you're a guy going out on, let's say, the Bay of Green Bay or a Lake Mille Lacs or a Lake Vermilion, these are big bodies of water, Jeff. Low density populations of muskies. Yes, you can go out there and catch a fish on any given day, but the reality is if you're just getting into the sport and wanting to learn, these are not the places to go because you're just not going to encounter enough fish. Then when you do get that chance, you're going to blow it or make a mistake and you're not going to get the fish and you're going to be even more frustrated. So really the key is to get on an action lake, fish it a lot, get out there as much as you can. Obviously time on the water, which we talked about in the first video, is a very good key to success in musky fishing. The more time that you're out there, the more success you're going to have. But if you do that time or spend that time on a body of water that has a lot more fish in it, you're going to learn a lot faster, you're going to go through that learning curve a lot quicker, and you're going to have a lot more fun doing it.
So how would a beginning angler go about on a day-to-day basis trying to find a spot to fish?
Well, that's another good question, obviously one that I scratch my head on every day that I go fishing. Typically the best recipe for a beginning or starting angler would be look at a lake map and choose the largest structures, Jeff. And I still do that, almost every day when I'm guiding. I'll go to any particular body of water and I'll look at the map and I'll say, all right, this is the largest flats, these are the biggest points, these are the largest humps. These are all key spots that muskies are going to use. I know in my brain that there's going to be fish on those. If I spend enough time, I'll be able to trigger them. Whereas a lot of those little micro spots, yay or nay, you may run into fish on them from time to time, and I certainly do fish them when the time is right. But if you're bouncing around hitting a lot of little small spots, you're generally not going to have the success that you would if you're targeting those large, major, prominent structures. Muskies are top-end predators. They're always going to choose the best spots, and they're usually going to choose the largest spots on the lake as well.
So now the last question is lure selection. We've broken this down month by month on a lot of different videos, but for the sake of this video, for the newer musky angler, how do you pick a bait for that day?
Well, and that can be seasonal, changes seasonally, which you just mentioned, but really my strategy as far as lures go on any given day when I'm hitting the water is early and late in the day when I expect the fish to be active. I'm going to be using straight retrieve or power baits or baits that I feel like aggressive fish are going to want to bite. This is when I'm throwing my cowgirls, my cowgirl juniors, maybe my 10-9 combos. I'm going to be throwing top water. I'm going to be working it pretty quickly. If I'm ripping dogs, I'm generally working them fast. All these things are things that I feel aggressive fish will bite. As the day progresses and we get into a bluebird situation like we have here, or the fish activity isn't what I expected, then I'll slow down and I'll usually use more reaction style baits. So now I'm pulling out my jerk baits, my twitch baits, things that start and stop or glide side to side. Now we're looking for that instinctual response, and we can get a lot of bites even from fish that aren't hungry by using those right types of lures, and that's when the jerk baits come into play. And then through the course of the day, if I have a moon rise or I'm sensing the fish activity level increasing, we're seeing more fish, we're catching them, we're having more follows, I may go right back into those power baits, those bucktails and those top waters, depending on the mood of the fish, and that can change all through the course of the day, so I'm always kind of monitoring that. But general course of rule that I go by is power baits early and late in the day and during any kind of weather change or moon phase, And then I'm using jerk baits or reaction style baits anytime when the fishing is slow, or I'm not in a prime moon phase, or the fishing action isn't what we expect, then I'm looking for that reaction bite.
Excellent. Well, that's Musky Fishing Basics 2. Hopefully, if you're a newer musky angler, you got some information out of this one. If you haven't, or you wanted more information, either way, we have an entire catalog of videos that we've done over the course of the last 2 years that will help in this progression as well, on top of the video that we've done here today.
Absolutely.
If you like what we did, maybe give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.